In a bustling city, where the noise of life never seemed to pause, lived a young girl named Anya. She was 18, quiet, and often found herself lost in thought, for her life was unlike any other. Anya didn't know her parents. She had been found abandoned on a desolate road as a baby. A kind-hearted man, who worked in the military, had taken her in and raised her as his own. She called him Dad, and he was the center of her world. But life wasn't easy for Anya. The man's wife and children never accepted her. She was treated as an outsider, an intruder in their lives. While her father was home, Anya found solace in his presence. They would laugh, play, and share stories, making the most of the few months he was around before duty called him back. But once he left, the household's coldness returned, and Anya was left to endure their mistreatment. Despite the hardship, Anya grew up strong and resilient. She balanced a part-time job with her studies, determined to make something of herself. But then, tragedy struck. Her father, her only protector, died while saving others in a military operation. The news shattered her. Her world, already fragile, crumbled to pieces. With no one left to stand by her, her father's family threw her out of the house. Homeless and heartbroken, Anya didn't give up. She continued her studies while working, driven by the memory of the man who had loved her. She put herself through college and became a doctor. Anya quickly earned a reputation for her skill and dedication, but her success drew jealousy from her colleagues. Among them were those who couldn't stand seeing her excel. One day, Anya was assigned to a critical operation by the chief doctor of the hospital, who had always admired her work. However, her envious colleagues plotted against her. They secretly swapped the medication she was using during the surgery, leading to the patient's condition worsening. The incident sparked outrage, and Anya was blamed. She was arrested, her career and reputation seemingly destroyed. In prison, Anya felt more alone than ever. She wept, believing that no one would stand up for her. But the chief doctor, convinced of her innocence, reviewed the hospital's security footage. The truth was revealed: the medication had been tampered with by the jealous doctors. Anya was exonerated, and those responsible were arrested. The chief doctor's unwavering belief in her touched Anya deeply. From that day, a bond formed between them, a bond that felt almost like that of a father and daughter, though she continued to address him as Sir. Life moved on, and Anya's career thrived. But the void left by her father's death never filled. One day, while out shopping, Anya ran into the daughter of her late foster father. They shared coffee, reminiscing about old times. Then, out of the blue, her foster sister asked, "Aren't you curious about who your real parents are?" Anya had never allowed herself to dwell on that thought, but the question lingered in her mind long after they parted ways. Driven by the desire to know her origins, Anya returned to the house where she was raised and asked her foster mother about how she was found. Her foster mother revealed that Anya had been discovered near an orphanage, though they weren't sure if she belonged there. With a renewed sense of purpose, Anya visited the orphanage, hoping to find answers. At the orphanage, an elderly caretaker remembered Anya. She told her about a tragic night 24 years ago when a man had left a baby at their doorstep. He was a doctor, and he had insisted the child be cared for before vanishing into the night. The caretaker explained that this man had left the child in their care after a harrowing incident. Curious and desperate for answers, Anya sought out an old nun at the orphanage who knew more. The nun welcomed her warmly and shared the story of Anya's parents. Her mother had been a doctor, and her father, also a doctor, had married her despite their family's objections. They were deeply in love and happy, but their happiness was short-lived. Anya's uncle, consumed by jealousy and anger, attacked her parents one fateful night. Her mother, who was pregnant with Anya at the time, was fatally wounded. In her final moments, she and Anya's father made the agonizing decision to deliver the baby to save her life. With tears in his eyes, Anya's father performed the operation himself, bringing her into the world just as her mother passed away. In the chaos that followed, Anya's uncle tried to harm the newborn, but her father fought him off and fled with the baby. He left her at the orphanage, knowing it was the only way to keep her safe. In a tragic twist, he was arrested for killing his brother in self-defense. The nun finished her story, revealing the name of Anya's father. Anya was stunned into silence as the name echoed in her mind. It was a name she knew well, the name of the chief doctor who had saved her career. Overwhelmed, Anya left the orphanage and rushed to the hospital. She burst into the chief doctor's office, tears streaming down her face. Without a word, she embraced him, finally finding the father she had been unknowingly searching for all her life. The man she had admired, who had believed in her when no one else did, was the father she had longed to know. In that moment, Anya's heart, once filled with sorrow and loss, was healed by the unexpected reunion with her father. The bond between them, once hidden by circumstance, was now unbreakable, and Anya finally felt at peace, knowing she was never truly alone. This story captures the themes of resilience, identity, and the unbreakable bonds of family, even when separated by time and circumstance.